Hello again. Welcome to Beauty and Joy of Computing. We are continuing our work with the project called Simple Studio for Character Design and Animation. And we are now at the stage where we can do some animation. Last time we learned how to do the character drawing, and we have some code here for that. Now we're going to learn is how do you take these things that exist and move them to the right, left, up, down, etc. Okay? Now what I want to do is I want to do one of these with you, and I'm going to let you figure out the rest because they're incredibly similar. So let's just go to Control menu and let us choose the option that says, let me just see where I'm here, when it says space is clicked, we're going to use this one, but I'm going to change this to when up arrow is pressed, what should happen. Okay? Now let's think about this. When the up arrow is clicked, what you want to first of all do is clear everything that was already there on the canvas. So let's start with that before we forget it. Okay, let's clear everything. I'm not going to set the color of the pen and the size of the pen again because they were initialized in the very beginning of the program. They should be fine there. So what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to traverse through our lists and be able to alter the Y values in the Y list. Why? Because when you press the up arrow, you want all the Y values to move up. At this point, I realize that I need to define a variable called step. This is how much, every time I press an arrow, how much the object is going to move. So I define a variable named step, and I have to initialize it in the very beginning, just like I have done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go set step to be. Through trial and error, I found step size of 25 to be pretty good. Okay? And you'll see in a minute how we're going to use this. And we also need another variable that is going to allow us to step through our list indices. So I'm going to make that value, which is going to be a counter value. I'm going to call it I. It's customary to call that counter value to be I. I'm going to uncheck them. We don't need to see them. So what we're going to do is every time we are the up arrow is pressed, we're going to initialize the I value to 1. Why 1? Because this is the first index we're going to visit in the lists. Now what I do is I go to grab a repeat block because I'm going to traverse through the entire Y list and update it, etc. So what I want to be able to do is I want to say I want to repeat this with the length of the X list. You could choose the X list or Y list. It doesn't matter because they have the same number of elements, because you might remember this is where we're setting them. We are always setting them pairwise, so they should be equal to in number. So set this length of the X list. We're going to repeat that many times. And I always forget this, so I'm going to do that right now before I forget. And we need to increment the I value as we traverse in this repeat loop. Every time we come back, we must increment it by 1. Okay? Now the question is, what are we going to do? What is it that we need to update? So what we need to do is we are going to access the, let's grab a couple of things, this might help. We're going to access the ith item of Y list. So I'm going to create this here so it makes a little bit more sense. I'm going to create here, find the ith item on the Y list. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it Actually, sorry, I can't do that here, but I'm going to do it here. So replace the ith item on the Y list, and let me make a copy of this before I control click on it and I duplicate it. Let's see if it's going to work. Okay, it's not cooperating, but it's not too hard to create, so I'm going to do that again. So replace the ith item of the Y list with, again, the ith item of the Y list plus the step, because what I'm doing, I go to operators to grab a plus sign. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, I'm going to find whatever it was before, and I'm going to add to it. I go to variables, I grab my step, I want to add the step to the existing Y value. Okay? So let's see if this will make sense. Replace item blah of, replace item I of Y list. I made a little mistake there, as you notice, with item of the Y list plus the step. Okay? So that way, there has been a replacement when I do that. Let's get more room here. And then what I need to do is I need to go to the X value, Y value, and then put basically a dot there. I'm going to put a little mark there that I have been there. Okay? So I go, I grab all the things that I'm going to need. Item I of the X list. I'm going to visit the item I of the X list. Oops. And then I'm going to visit the item Y, the item I of the Y list, and observe this item I of the Y list have been already updated by this earlier step that we had here. Okay? So when I do that, this should allow me to visit that new location. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my pen down. Okay? I'm going to put the pen down, and I need to move ever so slightly, as we discussed before. This is a curious step that we have to take, but we will do that. And then we move the pen up. So all we're doing is we're putting a little mark at this location. Okay? So let's see if this is any, we make any progress here. I'm still able to draw something. Now if I press the up, observe, as I press, it's drawing it, but it's drawing in sequential order. It's not drawing it all at once as I want it to do. If you watched the hints earlier, I mentioned there is something called the warp block, which is a strange color, sort of like a silverish color. So I'm going to put it right there. And what it does is it allows you to execute an entire bunch of code, block of code, together without the screen refreshing itself. So let's try it again. So I draw something, now I move it all at once. Okay? And observe, I can go up, but nothing else I can do because I did not implement the down, right, or left arrows behavior. Okay? So this should be, I hope, enough of a hint for you how to create the drawing program and also the animation program. And together with these two steps, I feel you will succeed in this project. Alrighty, I hope this was enjoyable for you. Take care.